Welcome to the Human Nature Channel. I'm your host, Alex Tamsula, and what am I doing here? Well, it's Tuesday night once again here at my dad's farm garage with a scenic view if you step outside. I got some video shots from earlier today. I've done this before, but what happened was, right around 5 o'clock, Dad's getting ready to go in, get out of the house. He's going to get out in his RV. And I looking at the sugar dispenser, and it's almost empty, and I says, Dad, I'm going to get down with you so I can get this filled. I drink coffee while I do video clips, and there wasn't enough sugar for that. So he said, okay. Now we step outside, and out front across the driveway is this 70-foot tall pine tree with these very long branches. And I've seen this before, but when a heavy wind blows through, like I was starting to see, those branches start going, they don't make that noise, but they go like this, they go like this, and it's very dramatic. 2 seconds later, it starts raining. And heavy. So I go up to the RV and I said, Dad, I'm going to follow you down in my car. I'm not walking back in this. So I get back down here. I've got the full sugar dispenser. French women are the sweetest by far. You know, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, ass scratching time. Happened to look out the window. The storm had blown over. The sun had come out. I grabbed my camera and I ran outside. And I saw these huge cumulus clouds lit by the sun. And the shade of blue behind it was kind of mind-blowing. But instead of me telling you about it, let me show you the video. Feast your eyes while I do some paperwork. Nice to have you back. It's pretty mild in here tonight. I'm down to one hoodie. This is a Western. We are a gang that rode into town from all over to find out how somebody could do this to a place we love called Las Vegas. In my last video, I talked about Paddock sending Mary Lou Danley off to the Philippines 2 weeks before the Las Vegas shooting. I'm looking at that, and if there is a point of no return, it happened before, because this looks like the wheels in motion for whatever Paddock had in mind. It's like he's going down a checklist. Get Mary Lou out of here. Check. I had this thought about the $100,000 that Paddock sent to Mary Lou when she was in the Philippines. And I tried to fit it into the last video, but it made things too wordy. But it made me think about something. Mary Lou Danley has not told her story to television. She hasn't told her story to the print media, as far as I know. Radio silence from Mary Lou Danley. It could be you send her $100,000 so she doesn't have to sell her story for $100,000. Was Paddock thinking that far ahead? Well, he was meticulous, and like I said, I think that was on the checklist. The thing about Mary Lou is she does that Asian demure very well, at least what we see and what she had to say, like in the Fit Report. But my problem with Mary Lou is you get the feeling she's massaging the truth. So anyway, how about some Las Vegas shooting truth community yak? Because that's what you're here for. Well, the news is there isn't much news. My YouTube queue hasn't presented me any LVS videos for like the last 5 days, maybe longer. I'm like, And it doesn't surprise me because that seems to be part of a trend. I've noticed that people who are known for doing videos on the Las Vegas shooting are kind of transitioning onto other topics, which is fine and it's probably inevitable. Mike Turber's 5x5 News did a video on small nuclear reactors. I thought it was very, very interesting. I'm thinking about doing a transition like that. Al-Qaeda and their daring young men in those flying machines. We'll start with the Wright brothers and bring us right to where we are now. Well, there's always something interesting here in my dad's garage. What can I show you tonight? Have I ever given you a look at the front loader? I don't think I have. It's an interesting piece of equipment. I've sat in it. I've moved a lot of dirt and gravel and busted up concrete. Yeah, from the roll bar we have a wrench hanging down. If you want to be a good farmer, you gotta be a good mechanic. Oh yeah. You even have a cup holder, which is pretty nifty. Put my Mountain Dew in there. Yeah. You can get a lot of work done with something like this. You know, I was halfway thinking about opening the garage door, starting this thing up, backing it out, back it back in, just so you can hear what it sounded like. And then I thought, well, I don't know, it's night, it's wet, maybe I'll save something like that for the summertime. Well, I think I have everything I need. I have a genuine Alaskan ice worm live, raised in the icy fields of the frozen north. This gag is so silly. They even give you instructions on how to do it on the inside of the box lid. Hold box in hand. Poke finger through hole. Invite your friends to see your Alaskan ice worm. Open box. Wiggle finger for extra effect. I gave it my all. Now this is an interesting item. It's a planer, and is it an actual tool? Is it a toy? The blade is so dull, the only thing you could plane is a stick of butter. You never know what you're going to find in my dad's garage back at the house. Here we have a John F. Kennedy for President button from 1960. I got to be careful here. This could send me on a discourse about my dad's politics, the politics of the family, we're blue collar. He's a retired auto worker. He's a member of the United Auto Workers Union. In national elections, he's voted Democrat as far back as I can remember. What happened to me? All right, here we have a Maraca salt shaker that stands on its own, but since we don't have the pepper shaker, it's useless. Ah, we have something under glass. What we have here is a hunk of lye soap from 1943, made by my father's mother. So anyway, when I was down at the garage getting the sugar, I'm grabbing knickknacks, right? And Dad just happened to be there, and I'm like, can I take this? And he's like, sure. He's like, I was with her when this thing was made. Now, I know this is a tough act to follow here, Irv, but what's that, Irv? You don't want to do your close-up? What do you want to do instead? You want to do the Joe Central O teleportation back into my apartment? Irv, it's too soon. It's too dangerous. We haven't tested it yet. The time to go is now. Who are you, Werner von Braun? All right, Irv. We're going to give it a go. We step outside and then we step back in. Is that the plan? I'll even bet my hat's on backwards. We gotta work some more bugs out of the system, Irv. Every Saturday night, I get together with my friend, the Human Encyclopedia. He'll either cook dinner or we'll go out to eat. Then we'll go back to my place for drinks, 2 movies, and 2 episodes of some television drama on DVD. It's not uncommon for him to leave at 5 in the morning. Sometimes it feels like the end of a full day at work. Right now, we're working our way through Season 7 of Homeland. It was the Human Encyclopedia's suggestion we start watching it, and to tell the truth, I enjoy the show. I think Claire Danes as the bipolar, now ex-CIA agent Carrie Matheson is very good, but I also find this spook soap opera mostly preposterous. More than once in the 7 seasons, somebody has said, Carrie, you did what? And she's not in a Supermax prison yet? My problem with the show is its right leg is longer than its left, and that's the way the show leans. But I can put the skew aside and still find it entertaining. Before that, over dinner, the Human Encyclopedia and I will sometimes talk about the Las Vegas shooting. And being the worldly character that he is, he makes a good sounding board. Last Saturday, we were talking about the $100,000 Stephen Paddock sent to Mary Lou Danley after she went to the Philippines. The Human Encyclopedia took an interesting tack when he said, sounds like the last desperate move of a gambling addict. Really? I said. I told him as far as I knew, Paddock wasn't at the end of his rope financially. 3 years before, Paddock made somewhere near $6 million in his Central Park apartment sale, and I had to explain to my friend that the $6 million was all profit. Paddock didn't have to pay off any mortgage or loans. He was self-financed and paid cash. He paid cash for that mesquite home. The Human Encyclopedia then said, he paid off his gambling debts before the shooting, didn't he? Yes, I said. That had been reported. You can call Stephen Paddock a lot of things, but Welcher isn't one of them. In addition, we talked about my idea that $100,000 could buy a lot of silence if it meant Mary Lou didn't have to sell her story for $100,000. THE didn't think much of that. He still thinks the money had more to do with Paddock paying his debts. Could be. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I just pretend to have all the questions. But the one thing I've heard from the Human Encyclopedia more than once is, haven't you run out of things to say about the Las Vegas shooting yet? And my answer is always, I guess not. This is video number 62. And right now, 42 of the Human Nature channel's videos are about the LVS. You could even count video number 9, Plantation, Squirrel Hill. That's the one where I sing Harry Nilsson's Coconut. If you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself to do so. I don't worry about running out of things to say about the Las Vegas shooting anytime soon, because at the bottom of Stephen Paddock's Wikipedia page are links to 108 articles referencing him and the Las Vegas shooting. I've read some of these articles here and there, and since I have spent a lot of time talking about how the media portrayed Paddock, I decided it might not be a bad idea to work my way through them all systematically, because you never know what you'll find. In fact, I got as far as the second article from The Wrap, which is out of San Francisco. I'm reading down and I came to this line. Paddock was not known to the federal authorities, but was known to local law enforcement, NBC News reported. Known to local law enforcement? I thought that was exactly not the case. Since the text that said NBC News was a link, I went to the NBC article where it talked about multiple currency transaction reports. According to a U.S. statute, a CTR is a Treasury and IRS mandated report that casinos have to file when each transaction in currency involving cash in and cash out of more than $10,000 in a gaming day. That's no surprise. That must have been what the Wrap meant by local law enforcement, because that's as close as it gets. Further down in the NBC article, they started talking about bank robbing Daddy Benjamin Paddock, and we see this. An archived newspaper article from the Arizona Republic described Benjamin Paddock as a 3-time bank robber who was accused of stealing approximately $25,000 from 3 Phoenix, Arizona bank branches. He was arrested in Las Vegas and indicted on 3 counts of robbing Phoenix branches of the Valley National Bank. How many of you knew Benjamin Paddock had been arrested in Las Vegas? I knew I had seen that somewhere before, and it may have even been this article. One time I asked a friend if she believed in destiny, and she said no. I should have asked her, how about a destiny where somebody is getting sent straight to hell? On top of all that, did you know Benjamin Paddock as of now has a Wikipedia page? Strange but true. And in old Baldy's case, there are 25 linked articles referencing him, or at least mentioning his name. He didn't just rob banks, by the way. Benjamin Paddock was a career criminal and jailbird with his fingers in a lot of pies. In 1946, Paddock was convicted of 10 counts of auto larceny and 5 counts of confidence game and was confined at the Illinois State Penitentiary until July 1951. In 1953, he was convicted of conspiracy in connection with a bad check passing operation and was again held at the Illinois State Penitentiary until August 1956. In one of his early arrests, he was found with a concealed revolver. He was accused of robbing branches of the Valley National Bank of Arizona in Phoenix in 1960. He robbed another branch of $4,620 on July 26th of that year and was captured and was convicted for this third robbery in federal court in January 1961. During his arrest, he attempted to run down an FBI agent with his car. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. On December 30th, 1968, Paddock escaped from the Federal Correctional Institution La Tuna in Anthony, Texas. A warrant for his arrest relating to his escape was issued on February 3rd, 1969, and he was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. After escaping prison in 1968, Paddock moved to Oregon, where he took the name Bruce Warner Erickson. He then operated a bingo parlor for the Center for Education Reform, a nonprofit organization based in Eugene. He was captured and arrested in early September 1978 in Springfield, Oregon, and was eventually released on parole. In 1987, he was charged by the Oregon Attorney General with racketeering related to his bingo business and fraud for an illegal business he ran rolling back car odometers, but avoided a prison sentence by paying a $100,000 fine. Later in life, his involvement in bingo earned him the name Bingo Bruce. During the last decade of his life, he lived quietly in Texas, where he co-owned a car shop with his girlfriend. Gee, Benjamin couldn't stay out of trouble, could he? Which means Stephen Paddock came out of a very strange and twisted environment. From what I understand, Benjamin was gone by the time Stephen was 7 years old, but that's enough time for a lot of abuse. And not necessarily physical abuse, although that's possible, but definitely a type of psychological abuse. I had an opportunity to observe a criminal mind up close and personal. And a career criminal like that has no trouble getting tough with people who are not criminals, because they're always on the edge of getting tough with fellow criminals for stepping out of line. Benjamin Paddock had no problem taking what didn't belong to him. He was Stephen Paddock's first role model, and I have no choice but to factor that in. Before we go any further, I want to tell you about something strange that happened. And this is related to the movie 2 Minute Warning, which I talked about last week. As Starless Mystery pointed out to me, the movie 2 Minute Warning was free on YouTube. You were able to find it at a YouTube channel called Big Bad John. Now, Big Bad John had a lot of movies uploaded. It looked like he was into B movies from the 1970s and 80s, maybe a lot of made-for-TV movies as well. I just glanced at the videos and hardly recognized any of the titles, although there was one I had seen before called Flashpoint with Chris Christopherson and Treat Williams, and get this, another movie based on a novel by our friend George LaFontaine. I was kind of surprised Big Bad John got away with this for copyright reasons, but I subscribed to the guy anyway because there might be something in there I'd want to see. On Thursday in my notification list, I noticed Big Bad John had uploaded 3 movies. One of them was something called The Midas Run with Richard Crenna, something I've heard of but don't remember ever seeing. An hour later, I'm looking at the list with new notifications, and I see all of Big Bad John's videos had been taken down. I went to his channel and saw it had been terminated because of the usual third-party copyright complaints. I said to myself, "Self, ain't that some shit?" I really hope Big Bad John didn't get taken down because of me. Now, in my last video, I had said that 2-minute warning was on YouTube for free, but I never gave the name of John's channel. On Sunday night when I got together with my silent partner, I told him this story and then I said, "The walls have ears." He looked at me and he said, "No, man, you're the ear." "Oh," I said. I was standing when he told me this and I had to sit down immediately. The wonderful world of YouTube. Anyway, my archaeology of Stephen Paddock continues, and here is an interesting opening to an article titled "Las Vegas Shooter Used His Millions to Fund Gun Collection and Gambling Habits." It's from Reuters, and its subheading says, "Before Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock commenced one of the deadliest shootings in U.S. history, he spent years building a lucrative empire." To the Texas brokers who met him in 2004, Stephen Paddock was an unremarkable man looking to buy an unremarkable property near Dallas, hardly distinguishable from other casually dressed Californians who flocked to the area to make investments. After touring the 111-unit apartment complex in Mesquite, Texas with the brokers, Paddock bought it for $8.4 million, partly with the proceeds from selling some smaller properties in Los Angeles. I missed that the first time I read this article. Stephen Paddock could come up with over $8 million as far back as 2004, a decade before Central Park Apartments. If you can come up with $8 million for a rental property, you're a player in the residential real estate game. In 2016, Paddock moved from Florida to another retirement home in Mesquite, Nevada, which he purchased in late 2014. Since the move is 2 years before the Las Vegas shooting, I have to mark it off as the beginning of the end for Stephen Paddock, whether he knew it or not. It couldn't have been more than a year in that home before the Las Vegas shooting occurred. If there was a point of no return, it had to have happened while Paddock was living 90 miles from the Las Vegas Strip. One thing that sets the Route 91 Harvest Festival massacre apart from all other mass shootings I can think of is that money is a big theme. Money, in all its different forms, including fast cash, suffuses the story. Yet there is nothing about money that directly connects to Paddock pulling the trigger. In the comments under my last video, my good friend Eric Peters had a response to me saying Paddock was astute financially in a number of things, especially real estate. He wrote, "I agree. He seems to have been a sophisticated investor. Therefore, it's all the more incredible he'd have wasted most of his money on video poker. I know, Alex, you've been saying for a long time that the shooting must have had something to do with his gambling in some shape or form, as that is what defined him. Perhaps we could broaden that concept and say he was some kind of money manager and that his financial dealings had something to do with what happened." I like the way Eric thinks. Stephen Paddock is a no-access private island in a sea of green. If I understand Eric, he's wondering if Stephen Paddock managed other people's money. Actually, the answer is yes, in a way. If you remember one of Eric Paddock's early interviews in front of his house, the one where he said, "Steve made us all rich," all while shaking his head at the incomprehensibility of what had happened. Las Vegas Shooting Archive mentioned in a comment that Stephen Paddock was affiliated with some real estate LLCs, something I've heard about but not spent a lot of time looking into. Still, it sounds like Stephen Paddock could make people rich if he really wanted to. This is a story of big money and mass death, with no clear link between the two. No, I think I'll always have something to say about the Las Vegas shooting. I had an interesting comment exchange with Secret Safe with You that got me thinking about something, and it has to do with Paddock planning on changing his location. Sheriff Joe Lombardo even sort of went there when he initially stated that Paddock planned on shooting and exploding the jet fuel tanks as a means of covering his escape. Well, I've talked about how unfeasible any idea of escape for Stephen Paddock would have been, but changing his location? Let's say Stephen Paddock managed to create his giant fireball. What's he going to do next? Wait for the firemen to show up, then watch them? I don't think so. There was no escape for him, but how about him going to a different location? Playing Catch Me If You Can all the way back to Mesquite, or even the Reno home with the bulletproof vest. Being found a suicide in another place, maybe with more guns around him, would make it even harder for people to figure out what Paddock was really up to. Like I said before, Route 91 was a one-way trip for Stephen Paddock, but the end of the line didn't necessarily have to be inside 32-135. By the way, at bonus hole earlier I hit the $15 jackpot. I should call it gambling with my laundry money. Anyway, that's it for today. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Like, subscribe, share, throw money at me. You know the drill. Have a good one.